Okay, yes, time once more for a little video. Lights, camera, action. Number 44. What is that one? Our table task grouping. The fifth one, which is this one. And if you can see this from there, it says learn to use a drill part 1. I had to split this up because there's just too much information. Let's do it. Okay. Here's the drill. We're going to be using two kinds of drills, but mainly the drill you're going to be using is a cordless drill. So let's take a look at it together and then talk about the drilling features of it. And then that's really part 1, and part 2 of using it is how to use it to put screws in, to drive screws, to pre-drill for nails even. So there's important stuff here to learn about this important tool. It really is the culmination of all of the tasks. Now we're putting something together. We're either going to be nailing it or screwing it together, and you're going to need to know how to use this properly. So here's the drill. This is the one that we're going to use mainly. It's a cordless drill. We have several of them. This is the chuck where the drill bit goes in. Get familiar with where the battery goes in. They do run down, as you know. This particular one, as you depress that red button, it comes out, and then you go charge it. You can put another battery in the meantime. They're not always the same. Sometimes they press on the side, so you do have to look for a little dimpled button here that causes the battery to come out. So that's one of the main features you need to know, how the battery comes in and out so you can keep it charged. The other is where is the trigger, pretty much right there. Just like a trigger of a gun, I guess. They call this a drill driver or a drill. And get familiar with where that is. And all of the ones that we have are variable speed. That means as you trigger it, as you depress this, you can control the speed of the drill. Now, if you can see this carefully where you are, which you probably can't, it's in reverse, right? It's going reverse direction. How do I put it in forward? It's a little button right there. When this button goes in, it changes the direction of the spin. So right here, you get used to these three main features. Here's the chuck. It's called the chuck, where the drill bit goes in, the actual bit. It drills a hole. Here's the trigger. It gives you the power. And these numbers we'll go over briefly. We're not going to use them very much right now. So you do want to know where that is, obviously. You have to know where reverse and forward are. You can look at the drill, and if it's going in a clockwise direction, that's going to be the direction of forward. So if I push this button this way, it's in reverse. Now reverse is as you hold this part with your hand and put it slowly in reverse and trigger it, it opens up the chuck so you can do what? Put a drill bit in it. So you do have to recognize this feature as well. It has a button here. All of them do now. It has a 1 and it has a 2. They're drilling speeds. Drilling speeds. If you're drilling metal, you want more high speed, slow drilling, or if you're putting in screws, you want it on 1, it's a slower speed. You can hear it. You can hear a more high speed pitch on the number 2, it's going faster. These buttons here, it even has a little drill bit icon here, and it has numbers. The numbers have to do with torque pressure, and we'll get into that in the next video when we talk about how to drive screws in. So this is when this becomes important, these numbers here. So for now, that's pretty much what you need to know about the drill itself. You need to change the battery periodically. So you've seen that. There's forward and reverse. Triggering the speed. So as you depress this, it goes slower or faster. You need to learn how to control that. That's super important. Opening the chuck to receive the drill bits. Say we're going to put this drill bit here. This is the one I'm going to show you. There's many different kinds. This is called a twist drill. It looks just like a piece of licorice, just twisted. It's the most common one we use in the wood shop. So we're going to pretend, or at least go through the motion of putting it in here and drilling a hole. So put it in reverse with your button. Watch it slowly, holding this area with your hand. Open up, take the drill bit rather, put it in the chuck and hold it like this with your hand on it. It's kind of hard to see this whole motion. Push it back and forward. So you got to think this through. There's a little, on this particular drill bit, you can see it has a little hexagon flat surface area. That's where the chuck jaws actually grab. So as I put it back and forward and I hold it, I slowly bring it up to where it grabs it. Then I take my hands off the key. You don't want to be holding this at all. Hold this briefly and then just torque it, and now it's ready to go. It's something we learned last year about keyless chucks and the way cordless drills, they don't have a chuck. So, don't have a chuck key rather. So we'll talk about that at a later date when we get into actual drill bits and doing drilling in other materials. Tightened, it's ready to go, right? I can see it's forward, so watch it slowly, practice this, put it in reverse, hold this, loosen it, take it out, put it in, practice this a little bit. Hold it in there carefully, holding this, push it in forward, slowly, trigger it up where it's centered in the jaws of the chuck. It's not right now, so I had to reposition it. There it is. Tighten it, it's ready to go. Okay, that's tightening. Now that you got to practice. It's one of the reasons why we have a part 1 and part 2 to this drill. It's a lot to take in and practice and do. So let's drill a hole. Here's a piece of wood, right? I'm going to put it on top of this so I don't drill my table. Here we go. Say I have this marked right here with an X where I need my drill. Trigger it, get it started. And as you go in, you want to see that you're going in not at an angle, but rather straight. So that's something you have to keep in mind. Start to drill it out, and as you're drilling it out, you want to clean it out. Now with a bigger drill bit like this, you don't notice it as much, but when you start using smaller drill bits, they will actually loosen right here because you're not cleaning it out periodically as you're going down to keep the wood shavings from stopping it and causing it to loosen here in the chuck. There you go, there's my hole all the way through it. Let me take this out, demonstrate once with a smaller drill bit and say something about it, because that's in my notes here because it's something to learn. So what I was just showing you right there, you need to learn to clean the hole out as you're making a hole. You got to be aware of the depth you're trying to drill to and what's on the other side of it. So there's a lot to think about. This is a much smaller drill bit. Same process. It's on forward, holding it, I'm triggering it, I'm tightening it in the chuck. There you go. I put it up here, and this is one of the things I wanted to show you. Small drill bit, the weight of this can actually bend this. So you have to be careful to make sure that you cleaning it out. Don't put too much pressure on it. Boom. Put it up, and it has a nice flat surface. Put it down. I see people all the time put it down like this with a drill bit, then they bend the drill bit, and then it's now, it doesn't serve its purpose anymore because it's wobbling. So don't do that. Be aware of that. You should put it in this position. That's why they have these flat bottoms for these, so you don't mess up the drill bit. Okay. Forward, reverse. So the question they'll ask you is, how do you remove the battery, pushing the button, put it back in? How do you put it in forward, reverse? It's this little button right here. Put it in reverse. Hold this area right in here. This has a little machined knurled area where your fingers go. You just hit it once, you trigger it, now you take it out. Right? Boom, you're done. Put a bigger one in, hold it in there, put it in forward, trigger it slowly, holding it at the same time. Now you can see there, I don't have it in there straight. You can see it, right? Can you see that? It's wobbling. So I take it out, make sure I'm holding it in the center of the jaws of the chuck, and I do it slowly till I can see it's going straight. Okay, ready to go. Take it out. All right, it does have 1 and 2 here. You want to learn to keep it on 1 most of the time. I'm take that back, on 2 when you're drilling holes, and on 1 where you're putting in screws. And we'll look at that in part 2, because we're going to both look at this as we use it to put in screws, and then we'll look in how to use a drill driver, how to pick out the right bit for the screw you're going to use. That's in part 2. And then what pre-drilling it is, and then changing this from a drill bit to a magnetic bit holder that holds the different tips, the Phillips tips, the slotted tips, even the Torx tip or the star tips that fit in the holder, and then you can drill the different heads of screws. So that's part 2. Drill, very important. Also called the drill driver. That's it for today.